All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday. Happy Friday to everyone out there. May 30th, we got a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video like we always do. I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any of the plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays. So I'm actually rolling with myself if that does interest you. If you do want to fade me, all that free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3 for more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. In terms of yesterday, I'm glad we went kind of light. We had 3 plays. One was a push, that Braves-Phillies game number 2. First 5 under 4, that finished at 4. And the Astros team total over, they got to 3. And then the Mariners money line, they go to extras and end up getting smacked. So, yeah. We'll take a losing night there. But again, I think we had a feeling that we weren't all that comfortable because only half unit plays is what we ended up rolling with. So I guess that's the good news. Maybe that's like the glass half full approach, the positive mindset that I'm telling myself here. But a new day, so hopefully we can do a little bit better. Unfortunately, the ride of the day was no better than our play, so another womp womp from the soundboard. Toxic had his second straight opportunity here. He went with the game 2 Phillies first 5 money line. The Braves got out early and they ended up winning that one. Toxic, I'm sorry, man. You had you got dealt a bad hand there, having the double header day with only 5 games as your second day. But if you guys don't know what the ride of the day is, it's simple. Just use that hashtag ride of the day or ROTD down in the comments. Give me your favorite play of the day. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day. Give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. We are tracking these plays now as well. So here is Toxic. You can see his streak that he went on and the profit he made and how many days it was. Guys, if you do win, we continue to ride with your plays. So, you know, if you win, then great. You keep getting shout outs. You keep helping the people out there. But yeah, use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. We'll ride with you until you lose. So yeah. It's unfortunate Toxic had, like I said, the bad hand being dealt because there's only 5 games yesterday and 2 of them were part of a double header there. But what do you say we go ahead and dive into this slate? This one looks pretty damn good. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get rocking. Starting off with the Cubs taking on the Reds. So the Reds offense maybe going down into that little trough, like we say. They have their highs and lows. They went 8, 7, 6, 7. Now they scored 2 in their last game a couple days ago. The Cubs coming off of a sweep of a series against Colorado, but their offense didn't look all that fantastic. I will say that's most likely because of the weather that we saw in Chicago, but I think we still have some pretty crappy weather there at Wrigley. So this is an interesting one based on that price. You have Andrew Abbott on the mound for Cincinnati going up against Colin Rea. Andrew Abbott has been realistically nothing short of fantastic this season, and Colin Rea, who was off to a great start, has shown a little bit of, I guess, bumps in the road here. Last time he pitched actually was against this Chicago team. Same thing with Andrew Abbott. I believe it was actually the same exact matchup they pitched against one another, and Cincinnati won that game 6-4. So I would normally say that wasn't the case that they just played. I'd think that Andrew Abbott would be the side, and the Reds would be the side, especially for the plus 140, whatever it is, plus 145. I just do kind of worry that, you know, the Cubs are now at home and they've already seen Abbott. So I'm still going to lean towards this Reds team. I think that price is a little bit too good to be true. But ultimately, the fact that they just saw him probably keeps me off of it. In terms of what we have from a total, I know the weather's crappy, but you do have, you know, the Cubs who can probably give you 3 or 4 today. And if this Reds offense bounces back from a 2-run game, maybe we see some Colin Rea action in which he does kind of let up a decent amount. I mean, like I said, last time he pitched against them wasn't all that great. 5 innings pitched, 7 hits, 1 home run, 3 walks, 6 earned runs. He did have 8 strikeouts, so I'm going to go with the Reds and the over in this one. All right, Philadelphia taking on Milwaukee. Milwaukee's pitching situation, I guess, still kind of being ironed out. DL Hall, I believe, is starting, but Quinn Priester potentially the primary pitcher. Taijuan Walker's on the side of the Phillies. That worries me a little bit, obviously, because I just don't really have much trust in him. The Milwaukee Bats, though, are the thing that I would be considering to fade here. Even though Walker is and has had his kind of ups and downs, this Milwaukee team I still really don't trust as far as I could throw them in terms of offense. And Philadelphia, yes, they played a doubleheader yesterday, but they're still just clear-cut the better offense. So I'll lean Philadelphia in this one. I think that price is fair. I'm thinking that price is indicating, that this is a closer game than we might think, but that makes sense, and we kind of already have that information. They had to obviously use a lot of their bullpen yesterday in a doubleheader. Milwaukee's more fresh, but it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? I feel like I could pitch scoreless innings against this Milwaukee team right now. So, yeah, I'm going to lean towards the Phillies in this spot. I don't think that Milwaukee's offense continues to do what they do against Boston. They scored, was it like 5, 6, I think 3 or 4 runs. I think that they have a game where they come back down to earth a little bit here. If this is like minus 160 Phillies, maybe I'd start considering Milwaukee, but I think the situation lends itself and helps us get a little better odds on the Phillies. So give me them. I don't really want to trust Walker, but I think that I trust that pitching situation a little bit more than, what we have on the other side. I don't mind the over, though, because what if Walker does get hit up, right? What if I'm wrong? What if I'm dead wrong about this Brewers squad? Well, if Walker gets hit up, then they go to a bullpen that is all beat up. Like, though I'm ragging on the Brewers offense, there's still definitely a chance that maybe they bring some momentum from that last series. This isn't the best pitching situation for the Phillies. And then I do think the Phillies can get to Priester or Hall, whoever it ends up being. So, yeah, I think that I'm going to be okay with an over here. I wish it was 8.5, but sitting at 9, that's all right. All right, next up, I want to get to the White Sox some way, somehow here. Baltimore taking on the White Sox. You have Zach Eflin on the mound going up against Sean Burke. Eflin has not been good. Sean Burke has finally started to kind of be the Sean Burke that I was trying to brag about at the beginning of the year, and then he lost a bunch of games, and I'm like, all right, screw that guy. In fact, in talking about screw that guy, look at guys, we have our DMB graveyard. I think I still want to etch Brian Reynolds in here, but we have the Padres and Jonathan India to start us off. So these guys obviously at some point can come off, the team can come off, but yes, we do have an active DMB graveyard, meaning the do not bet graveyard for guys that absolutely just burn us. So FYI, more to come on this, but I think it looks pretty cool. But anyways, back to this game, Baltimore, Chicago. I do think that there's a chance I take a little bit of a flyer here on the White Sox. My concern is that this Baltimore offense, though they've still been losing games, their offense actually looks a little bit better. Their last 10 games has less of those crappy performances and more of those 5-run games. So I'm going to read off their last 10. There's 2 outliers in here, which they scored 2 runs. First one, 2-5, okay. But then 8-5, 5-19, 5-6, 5-6, 2, 5, 5, 4, 4. It's like they're starting to score runs. I don't know if we have that from the White Sox, but you could say the same thing about them, right, in terms of their runs scored. They're kind of hitting, so I think they could back Sean Burke today. I'm going to lean towards the White Sox in the first 5. I don't want a full game of this. Not to say that I'm afraid of this Baltimore bullpen or anything like that, but this White Sox bullpen isn't very good, right? And you throw in the fact that I do think the Baltimore bats are better than the White Sox bats, so the more innings you give them, they might have a big inning somewhere down the road. So first 5 for the White Sox for me. Do I have the cojones to drop those things on the table and say we're rolling with it? I'd like to think I do, but man, oh man, that is tough. You know what I mean? It's almost like we could use this information and toss out the idea of Baltimore rather than having to actually put money on the table for the White Sox. In terms of what we have from a total perspective, I don't really like Zach Eflin. I think Sean Burke could pitch all right, but anything can happen when you get to those bullpens. So I'm going to lean over, but I honestly might think like first 5 under if we're just excluding it to the first 5. Guys, real quick, before we do move on with the rest of the games, I want to talk to you about Sleeper. They got a couple cool things going on right now. Actually, they got multiple. First off, they have a plethora, yes, vocab word, plethora of promo squares and promotions in the app right now, more than what you're just seeing on your screen. But new customers today can get a max free 0.5 outscore. Doesn't need a strikeout, doesn't need this. All he needs is to be pitching for 1 out of the game. You're also going to get 100% of your first deposit matched up to $100. So you give them 100, they'll give you 100. 200 now to play with, right? You give them 50, they'll give you 50. 100 now to play with. You can do that math, guys. Check out the link down in the description as well as the pinned comment, or sign up using code GUYBOSS and get you all these goodies. Sleeper is an awesome place to play and get some additional action if you do like player props and things like that. So go ahead and check it out. That link will be down below again in the description as well as the pinned comment. Again, there's way more promotions going on right now. Boosts, profit boosts, protected plays, all that stuff in the app for everybody. Really, really cool stuff they're doing right now. But let's go ahead and jump back into these games. Toronto taking on the Athletics. Chris Bassett on the mound going up against Jeffrey Springs. I think that the fact that Jeffrey Springs is a lefty gives us some time, I guess, in a sense, to think about, potentially looking at the A's at plus 140. But after a 12-0 stomping yesterday, this can go one of two ways. Either, okay, Toronto used up all their runs in a sense, right? Or the A's are like, damn, this team is so much better than us. And I do think that their offense is a lot better than them. This Athletics offense looks good. They have some good numbers, but realistically, I don't know how much I would trust them. And Chris Bassett, especially at home this year, has been all right? Some of these blow-up starts he have, like the most recent one in Tampa Bay, then he had one against the Angels. Those are all on the road. His home numbers are pretty good. 1.2 ERA, that's not great, but a FIP of 2.3, strikeout rate of 28%, ground ball to fly ball rate at 1.7, so some good numbers there. For the price, okay, do I think Toronto is the better team? Yeah. Do I think they have the better bullpen? Yeah. But for the price, do I think they have the better offense? Probably, honestly, even though some of the numbers may not say so. The price at plus 145 is probably what puts me on the Oakland side of things, but this is definitely one. It's similar to the Cincinnati. I think there's enough there that kind of says, okay, not sure if we can roll with this just due to X, Y, and Z, right? And that would be the X, Y, and Z being better offense, better starting pitching, better bullpen. Kind of crazy to be leaning towards the opposite of those. But I do think that, there's a chance that this one's a little bit lower scoring, meaning Jeffrey Springs kind of holds his own. Chris Bassett goes out there and pitches well at home like he's been doing. So I'm going to lean Oakland as well, or excuse me, Sacramento or the Athletics, and the under here in this spot. I think we could see a lot of ground balls produced by Chris Bassett here, and hopefully the same from Jeffrey Springs, because this is a Toronto team that, against lefties, they will hit a lot of ground balls. All right, Miami taking on San Francisco. We got Cal Quantrill on the mound going up against Kyle Harrison. Harrison's been okay, right? As much as I feel like over the years we've talked crap about him and not really liked him, which I think I'm still in that boat. I don't really feel he's a great pitcher. But that being said, we look at his recent games, and he's been all right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think you could throw out the Arizona game, and he had one other bad one in there. But other than that, he'll give you 6 innings of 2 earned runs, which might be all you need against Cal Quantrill, because though Cal Quantrill, you look at his recent games, he's looked pretty damn good. That guy is a ticking time bomb here. So, yes, I would look at San Fran here on the first 5 run line, first 5 money line. I don't mind them full game either. They definitely have a better bullpen than this Miami squad. I want to say their bullpen is pretty fresh too, after not pitching yesterday, right? So yeah, I think this is San Fran for me all the way around. I think Kyle Quantrill, again, ticking time bomb in a sense, and his numbers against this Giants team aren't that terrible, but I wouldn't say they're all that great. He's got a 13% walk rate, a WOBA of 270. That's pretty good, but not like amazing. Expected batting average against of 240. Like, Cal Quantrill realistically shouldn't be in the best of situations here. If he has his cutter and fastball going, then maybe, because San Francisco doesn't hit those high-speed pitches all that well. But the slider, the curve, all that, I think that we could see a decent spot here. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and lean towards Kyle Harrison and San Fran. It's also a Miami team, by the way, that just cannot hit lefty pitchers, so that's obviously a very good thing. Against lefties at home this year, dead last in WRC+, OPS, ISO, and slugging. So maybe that's something that puts us over the top. And for odds right now, first 5 innings run line, minus 0.5, minus 115. And if you wanted to go full game run line here, you'd be getting plus 100. So we're kind of hoping, I guess, San Francisco can go out there and obviously score runs, because it's not like their offense has been this powerhouse lately. So yeah, we'll see what we come up with there. That's the only side I'd look at, though. San Fran, either run line or first 5 run line. From a total perspective, it's tough. I don't think the Marlins scored today, so maybe a team total under for the Marlins. In fact, let's see if we can get an updated line for that, because, again, I do think that this is a spot in which we have, under 3.5. That could entice me. They've been playing really well, and when at home, they do all right. So the home games this year, they've gone over that in 18 of 28 games. But against lefties at home, they've struggled a little bit. So there's a lot potentially there. Nothing that's like overwhelmingly got to lock it in for me, though. All right, Cleveland taking on the Angels. I do think that we have a play that I do like in this one, so we'll start with that. I like the first 5 under 4.5. You have Luis Ortiz going up against Jose Soriano here. And the thing that I want to note about both of these guys, and I'll show you in the dashboard here, is that both of these guys like to induce the ground ball. You realistically are going to be hard-pressed to find a starter that throws more ground balls than Jose Soriano, which I love for first fives, right? You can see here, 4.1 to ground ball to fly ball rate at home. On the road, 3.9. It's really good, right? And overall, there's a bunch of lefties in this lineup too. Against the left-handed bats, 3.7. So yes, he may have some wonky numbers overall, but this is a Cleveland team that likes to put the ball in the air. And if they can't do that today, I don't think that they score a bunch of runs to start this game. Obviously, that sinker is going to be massive for him as well. You flip it over to Luis L. Ortiz here. So Luis Ortiz, 1.2 in terms of a ground ball rate. That's really good. This is an LA team that, on the road against righties, also does like to put the ball in the air. So if they don't have that ability, then we could see some balls hit on the ground today. And I think that we have a nice little spot here for a first 500. You can even see at the top of our dashboard. I'll explain how to get access to this dashboard just after we get through with this game. But for the last 3 games here, first 5, 0.3 for the Angels and 1.67. I could talk, right? 1.67 there for Cleveland. So I think this is a very good spot and a good look for a first 5, in which we're getting it at minus 109 right now. So a nice near even odds play. In terms of the pitching, Luis Ortiz here at home, 3 of his 4 starts have gone under this number, and Soriano on the road here, 4 of his 6 road starts this year have gone under in that first 5. So yeah, I like the trend of both the teams and the style of pitching. You look at these pitchers' numbers, you might think, I don't know, they're not the best pitchers, but I'm loving the fact that we could see a lot of ground balls today. And I'm one that believes a lot of ground balls results in less runs. It's not necessarily a proven thing. A lot of teams, even the Phillies at the beginning of the year, were scoring a lot of runs with a large, ground ball to fly ball rate. So it's definitely possible. But I'm gonna use the argument that, well, you can't hit it over the fence if it's on the ground, right? So I like the idea of a first 5 under. If I had to pick a side, I would say Cleveland, just because I think that this Angels little run is over and Cleveland's offense is way better. But honestly, final play wise, I'm pretty much eyeing that first 5 under. All right, here we go. Access to that dashboard is super, super simple. GuyBostonSports.com. Head over to the members area. You can click on MLB dashboard right here, and it's going to open it up. Now, I'm already logged in, so I'll see the dashboard. You get this each and every game. It's each and every game broken out in a visual format here, right? So all the data that you need, pitching data, pitch mix, bullpen. We have batting data. We have team trends here at the top. You have player data in terms of per pitch, how they do against righties, in terms of, if they're facing a righty or a lefty. It switches automatically. Really good stuff, guys. You can download this each and every day. You could print it out, all that good stuff. Now, if you're not logged in, I'll set this to a non-logged in view. You're going to come in and say, hey, you need a membership. Memberships are very cheap around here for all sports, meaning you get all of our dashboards that we offer. Right now, it's just NBA and MLB, $6.99 per month. NBA is $2.99, and then MLB, the big hitter there, at $4.99 per month. Go ahead and check it out, GuyBostonSports.com. These things are really, really great, especially, like I've been saying, when you spend some time with them and really start to kind of pick up on patterns and whatnot. I built this thing to help me optimize my research process in the morning so we can get videos out earlier and a more efficient process, right? So I know this works. I know this is helpful. It's not going to just spit out a play at you. That's not what it is. What it does is helps you kind of get all of that information in one place to kind of get you on the right path of what you're looking at next. So go ahead, check it out, guys. GuyBostonSports.com. Become a member. All right, Mets taking on Colorado. Yesterday, the Mets end up losing to, who did they play? A really bad team, right? And then Colorado coming off of I think they've lost like 5 straight games, but they've played Philadelphia, New York, and Chicago. So though Colorado's really bad, I can't hold them too accountable for that. They do have Freeland on the bump, which is, a guy that at least gives them a chance. But going up against David Peterson, who's been very, very good this year, I still think it's hard to get there. Now, for the price, Colorado's the only team that I'm looking at or trying to make a case for. Does that mean that I actually get there? No, but David Peterson struggles against righties, and this is a big-time righty lineup for Colorado. But again, I don't think that we actually end up finding value on Colorado. I just think that the Mets at minus 360 is kind of out of this world. They lost yesterday. They probably bounced back today. I get it. But this is going to be Colorado plus plus the points, plus the runs or nothing for me. Low scoring game. You could see there. It's at 7.5, so it's not like we expect this Mets team to go out there and score 10 themselves. I think we have some really crappy weather there at City, so honestly, Colorado plus 1.5 seems like it could be something, but it's a little bit of a volatile spot to look at, right? I mean, you're taking a team that's really bad against a team that is really good, regardless of, David Peterson can't pitch against righties and all that. At some point, the Mets could put up 3 runs and still win this game, you know what I mean? So I guess with that being said, I like the under as well. I mean, if Freeland can do his job and pitch okay, which hopefully he can, and David Peterson, even though that righty sort of issue is there, maybe we see him pitch all right as well with bad weather. Yeah, I guess, a 4-3 win for the Mets could be the case as well. All right, Atlanta taking on the Red Sox. This is not a biased homer pick. I don't mind the Red Sox here for the price for just a couple reasons. And I will say, I'll get out ahead of it. Had there not been a doubleheader yesterday, I probably would like the Braves, right? Grant Holmes against Lucas Giolito. I think we can give a slight edge to Grant Holmes there. Honestly, probably bigger than slight, but I think the offense of the Red Sox is almost, at some point they will bounce back. So I would say they should be comparable in this game. Again, especially after a doubleheader yesterday where Atlanta was in Philly. So there's a couple different factors, and I don't think that this Atlanta bullpen is going to be in the best of situations after that. They pitched, I want to say it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys from their bullpen yesterday. So yeah, this is a spot in which I think the Red Sox can go out there and put up a decent number, and who knows if the Braves can, in a sense. After 2 games yesterday, one that they lost, one that they won, and I think it's kind of special. It's important, I should say, to note that the Braves scored a bunch of their runs there in that second game versus the first game. They did have what was the final score in that first game? It was like they scored 3, right? But then they scored 4, but they scored 9 in that second one. A lot of the times when teams score a bunch of runs, we like to kind of fade them on the next day. Might be a good spot to do so for plus 140 on the Red Sox side of things. In terms of that total, I think the Red Sox, at the very least, can probably put up a decent number, so maybe take a peek at an over. I think we have nice weather there in Atlanta, and in terms of what we have from wind, I want to say it's like 10 miles an hour blowing directly out to the outfield. Now, it's left center. Left center is one of the deeper parts of the ballpark, but still, we could see Giolito and Grant Holmes hang something here today. Both those guys throw off speed, like the slider as well as the I think it's the changeup and slider for Giolito. So yeah, it could be a good spot for an over. But who knows if Atlanta used up all their runs yesterday. Tejas and St. Louis. Liberatore on the mound for St. Louis. He's been really, really good. Going up against Jack Leiter, who's been better. This one ultimately will come down to the offenses for me, and if you put both these offenses in a ring together and say fight till the death, I think we know which offense is better, right? If we read off Texas' last 10 games in terms of runs scored, 3-2, 3-0, 1-5-5, 1-2-0. St. Louis, on the other hand, has a few bigger numbers in there. 1, that's not a good one to start on, but 11-4, 1-4, 6, 4-2, 7-6. They're just a better offense. I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be able to go out there and, score today. So maybe this is a spot for a Cardinals team total over, or just Cardinals on the money line. When it comes to the bullpen and everything like that, I think that this is going to be a very evenly matched bullpen, but I do think there's a starting pitching advantage and a bats advantage for the Cardinals. So if you think that results in a first 5, then sure, makes sense, right? You have that starting pitching advantage. But what I would say is Leiter does definitely have a lot of talent. So maybe it's a little bit closer in the first 5 than you think. And if you have an offensive advantage with the away team, maybe you want to take a peek there, right? At them kind of having 9 innings to score to be able to get you that team total over, or to be able to put up a big number, like when we talked about Baltimore versus Chicago, right? So yeah, Cardinals team total over would be something I consider today. If we can't get that, I'll probably just take a peek at them on the money line. I think that they're the better team. They're playing better baseball as of right now as well. They've won 6 of their last 10, and I think it's like 4 of their last 5. Texas is just kind of up and down, up and down, up and down. I will say Texas is pretty damn good at home, though, and maybe that does help, but ultimately, Liberatore, I'm trusting a hell of a lot here. I think that he could keep their team total down. So, yeah, I'm going to go with St. Louis or their team total over. A player prop that I like, and I feel like this guy is borderline on the DMB list. We have cashed him a few times, so that's good. It's not like he's always killing us. But Adolis Garcia under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He has some really good numbers against Liberatore, but it's a small sample size. But other than that, he bats just 149 this year against lefties, WRC plus of -12, which is crazy. And he's going to see the fastball and slider as the 2 main pitches. Both of those he doesn't hit all that well. So, yeah, I do think that there's some value there on him under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Also wanted to take a peek at Simeon, but he's actually batting lefties pretty well, so that kind of keeps me off of it. And then Josh Young as well, under 1.5 bases. I feel like that could be a good spot. The problem is he hits the fastball pretty well overall, which kind of concerns me. And though he has a worse batting average against left-handed pitchers, his extra base hit percentage, which would be huge in bases here, does jump up a little bit. Wyatt Langford was another one. I was clearly in the lane of targeting some of these lefties on the Texas side of things. The fastball would be the thing that kind of worries me there. He hits the fastball very well. Liberatore's number one pitch. So I think Adolis Garcia under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs ends up being the best player prop that we like. Kansas City taking on Detroit. My eye kind of goes right to a first 5 under just because of the pitchers. You have Casey Mize on the bump going up against Seth Lugo. I like, again, the fact that both of these guys are good pitchers in the first place, right? So I'll say that. Secondarily, what I would say is if you look at Seth Lugo's numbers when at home this year, 5 of his 6 home starts, he's gone under that number. And these scores are crazy. The last 4, 1-0, 1-0, 1-0, 1-1. So they're very much under. Casey Mize, I can't necessarily say the same thing about, but he did in the Angels ballpark and in Colorado. Those are his only 2 losses when it comes to hitting the over in the first 5. And one of those games is because the Tigers scored 9 runs in Colorado in the first 5. So I do think that Casey Mize should be in a decent spot here as well to be able to go out there and, give you a decent start, right? So I would say, yeah, for what I'm looking at here, I'm going to go first 5 under 4.5. I think Lugo and Casey Mize could be pretty good, or should be pretty good. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. Ultimately, what we've seen from Lugo hasn't really been the Seth Lugo that we know, and last year we definitely loved. But Casey Mize has been very, very good, right? So if these 2 guys can keep the ball in the ballpark, and it looks like we do have, in terms of weather, kind of wind blowing to right field, a little bit just like left to right, not necessarily out. So maybe the weather isn't the best of situations here. But again, if these guys can keep the ball in the ballpark and keep it down at Kauffman, I think that we could see, at most a 2-2 game after 5. So fingers crossed for that. If we had to pick a side here, I think minus 118 is a pretty good price for this Detroit team. You have the Royals, who are just 5-5 in their last 5. They're coming off of a win. Detroit is traveling from Detroit to Kansas City. Not like it's the craziest ride, but they are traveling, whereas Kansas City's still at home. But their offense is just, I would say, 10 times better, right? Or at least more consistent. They're going to give you, when they have a bad game, they'll give you 3 or 4 runs. When Kansas City has a bad game, they're literally putting up a goose egg sometimes. So, yeah, just for the offense, I'll lean towards Detroit. But ultimately, I think that my favorite play would end up being that first 5 under. Houston taking on Tampa Bay. This one burned us yesterday. I like the spot for the Houston team total over. Doesn't come through. We probably end up rolling with it right away again. They're going up against Pepio. Pepio is actually starting to look pretty damn good. He's already pitched against this Houston team this year. He went 6 innings, 3 earned. Houston did score 4 in that one. Framber Valdez pitched, last against this Tampa Bay team last year, and he pitched really well. He has 2 good starts in his last 3 and 1 bad start against his Tampa Bay squad. I still am not a believer in this Tampa Bay lineup. They scored 13 runs yesterday. They got to gusto. I understand that that's a bad look for this Astros squad, but I think the Astros bounce back today, and they go out there and give you 4 runs at least. So am I backing Valdez? Not necessarily. I don't like the price tag of minus 160, but for Houston to score 4 runs, you're getting minus 140. I like that a little bit better. They're at home, and Pepio doesn't exactly have the best numbers against them, nor the best pitch mix either. He's going to throw a lot of fastballs, as we know. That's a pitch that Houston hits really well. He'll go to the changeup. They hit that well. And then the slider, that's the worst one that they'll see. They're 15th in the league, so not even that terrible. So running it right back, Houston team total over 3.5. I don't mind them on the money line. Like I said, I don't necessarily, love it. I'm not jumping out of my seat to get there. But, I do think that, Astros at home, give me some runs. At home this year, they've averaged 4.7 runs scored. So even if Valdez gets hit up today by Tampa Bay because their offense is so good, screw it. I think that the Astros at least give you 4. So I think that's a safer, less variables type of play, if that makes sense. San Diego taking on this Pittsburgh team. Pivetta up against Mitch Keller. I could see a low-ish scoring game here in the first 5 for this one as well. This San Diego offense, I don't know exactly what happened to it, but they aren't the San Diego offense that, makes you shiver in your boots. You know what I mean? Even though they had, did they have 2 back-to-back games of good offense against Miami? Some of those, they went up against Max Meyer, who stunk. They went up against Alcantara, who's been one of the worst pitchers in the league that's had a starting job this year. I think going up against someone like, Mitch Keller is going to be like a not exactly the best spot. He's been pitching really, really well. You have Pivetta who's pitching well. So Pivetta against that offense, at least you have that in your back pocket, right? So I would say that I do lean San Diego, okay? They're a little priced out. I think that they are the better offense, but I'm kind of selling on this offense right now. If I see a couple more games of 7-8 runs, then I'll be like, yeah, this offense is back, and I get it, right? Especially if they get to a Mitch Keller versus Max Meyer or Alcantara. So we'll see what happens today, but I do think Mitch Keller could have a decent outing, and I think decent would get the job done for first 500. And it's almost like you know what you're getting out of Pivetta, right? Like, he was really good to start the year, kind of had a few blips on the radar, but then, and that was his biggest blip was in Colorado, whatever. A lot of pitchers struggle there. And then he bounces back against Seattle and Atlanta and goes 6 innings in each of those games, 7 strikeouts in each of them, 2 hits, 4 hits, and then 1 earned run in each of them. Pivetta should be good to go, right? So, yeah, first 5 under here. Maybe even if we just want to say Pittsburgh team total under in the first 5, really backing Pivetta. What do we get for numbers there? If we go first 5 team total for this Pirates team, 1.5 for plus 155. You can go, oh, that's the Padres. I was going to say that is crazy. Under 1.5 for minus 130. Honestly, don't necessarily hate that. This is a team that does struggle to score. They've hit the under in 54% of games this year and 50% of their away games, but in 43%. So that drops a little bit against righties. That'll be something that we consider. Under 1.5, kind of backing Pivetta, but give me the Padres as well as an under here because I'm giving Mitch Keller a little bit of some credit there. And as far as player props go, I'm really glad he's not on the DNB graveyard list yet because we're giving it one last try here at Brian Reynolds. FYI, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, Brian Reynolds, I like his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, right? I've liked that about 5 times this year, and I think so far we're either 1-4 or 2-3 at best, taking Brian Reynolds unders in terms of 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Now, he is not on the DMB graveyard yet, so he's still, in terms of our rules, legally allowed to be played, and we're going to try it again today. He really does struggle against righties and compared to lefties. And Nick Pivetta is really good against left-handed bats, Brian Reynolds being a switch hitter. He's going to see they fastball, the slider, the curve, the cutter. Before you get to the cutter, he only throws that 8% of the time. The fastball, slider, curve, his WOBA and K rate all look very good on all of those. So this, if anything, is a good spot to consider a Reynolds under. The problem is he's crushing it. He's been crushing this. He's averaging 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs over his last 10. Makes it a little worrisome, but against Nick Pivetta here, that's really what I'm looking for. So yeah, I like this spot. He has 2 hits, one of those being a home run off Pivetta, so we shall see. But yeah, Brian Reynolds, under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Sound the cycle alert alarm because I'm just a glutton for punishment here. All right, Zona taking on the Nats. This national team is kind of shocking me. Now, I know they have bats, and I get that, but them putting up, 2 consecutive games here, 9 runs, beating Seattle yesterday is shocking. Now, we have Arizona, who has been losing a lot of games. They actually lost that series against Pittsburgh. They did get Skeens they got Skeens and Heaney, but they beat Heaney. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of stinks for them, right? Now you have Merrill Kelly, who's been up and down against Jake Irvin, who's actually been okay. I'm going to say Arizona in this one. You're going to have to go with run line or their first 5 run line. I would say first 5 run line because both these bullpens are pretty volatile, and throw in the fact that you're looking at a home team. If you go with a full run line, -1.5, they might not get their last at-bats, and that could matter. So, yeah, I guess I would say first 5 run line here for Arizona. But to me, it's realistically backing their offense here, being able to get to Irvin. I don't really love the idea of, backing Kelly. So yeah, maybe we can go, team total over 4.5. Like if they score 5 runs today, I think they win this one. Washington is definitely due for a little regression. So I'll lean towards Arizona, slightly into the over as well. But ultimately, I think if we do like an over, we're probably more so eyeing an Arizona team total over, which I think we have decent weather conditions there in Arizona today. Let me double check that. Yeah, so it looks like, it looks like there's going to be weather conditions. Is in a dome, right? Am I wrong there? I feel like that is the case, right? But I didn't lie, right? Decent weather conditions. So give me Arizona in the over. All right, Seattle taking on Minnesota. This one's a little harder than I would have thought. You have Brian Wu on the mound going up against Zebby Matthews. Zebby Matthews is not a guy that over the years or anything that I've wanted to back or anything like that, right? But I don't think he looked terrible in that comeback start that he had. From his first start, right, where he only pitched a couple innings. Then he pitched against Kansas City. 9 strikeouts through 4 innings was pretty impressive. But Brian Wu has been dealing, and this Seattle team is struggling right now. And I think that, and when I say struggling, they have lost 4 of their last 5. They have gone up against Houston and Washington, who decides to be the best offense in baseball. So I guess you could say that obviously maybe they were dealt a bad hand. But Minnesota's kind of on the come down of that big streak. I think though Zebby Matthews has looked good, and he honestly has, this is a good Brian Wu spot as well as Seattle offense spot. So if we can get a good price tag, or could get a good price tag, I don't mind the idea of Seattle. It kind of begs the question of, well, they played yesterday. You had this Minnesota team with a rest. Does that matter? It might, but I do think there's a lot of advantages other than, I guess, the bullpen. I think Seattle's offense should be pretty good against Zebby, and Brian Wu should have a good game. So I guess I'm going to lean towards Seattle and maybe the under. Like, if this is an under game, I think that favors Seattle, because Minnesota, when they're going on that streak, they were scoring a bunch of runs, right? So if their offense does nothing, I think Seattle, at least at home, backing Brian Wu, could score a few. So yeah, I'm going to go with Seattle in the under, but again, you can probably hear it in my voice. There are some question marks there that it's like, if this is low scoring, what if the Mariners offense doesn't show up? Because they haven't showed up in 2 straight games, right? They scored, 3 runs yesterday and 0 runs the day before. They scored 9 in game 1 of that series, but prior to that, it was 3 runs and 1 run against Houston. So yeah, I'm kind of, cringing at the idea of Seattle's offense right now, but I do think that they can get to Zebby. All right, we got a good one here. Excited for this series. We have the Dodgers taking on the Yanks. Gonsolin on the mound going up against Max Fried today. In terms of Max Fried's numbers against this Dodgers roster, when I say roster, I mean the team itself. I mean the players that make up the team, not the team itself. Max Fried, 203 plate appearances against, an average against of 201, strikeout rate of 27, walk rate of 8. Gonsolin doesn't exactly have the best numbers here against the Yankees, so I do think that this is a spot in which I guess I'll lean Yankees. I think that they can get to Gonsolin, but if this goes to the bullpen and whatnot, I do think that the Yankees have a little bit of an advantage as well, because in reality, the Dodgers should have a better bullpen, right? But they have so many guys injured. Just in their bullpen alone, I think they have like 7 guys injured. A lot of those guys being guys that would be pitching on, other squads, you know what I mean? And they even have starters injured. So because of the injuries, I think that there is a pitching advantage here throughout the entire game. I would take Fried over Gonsolin right now, even though Gonsolin, both these guys have had their amazing times in the league, right? But I'd take Fried over Gonsolin just in terms of how they're pitching this year, for sure. But the bullpen, I would take New York's bullpen, and that's saying something, because I don't fully trust the Yankees' bullpen. I do think they're starting to find their fastball, no pun intended, and be a little bit more consistent, but still, give me the Yankees in this one on the money line. Right now, best odds for that, I think -1, it's moved, -120. This was a pick 'em when I was looking at it earlier. In terms of what we have from a total, that you do have 2 fantastic offenses, even though I think the Yankees have a good, pitching situation here, it's tough to say under when you're talking about Yankees, Dodgers. So I'll lean towards the over, but again, that's kind of just because it's almost out of fear. You can't be looking at an under with these 2 teams, can you? But obviously, then all of a sudden, we're going to look tomorrow, and it's going to be like a 1-0 win for the Yankees type of thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, we'll say over, but there's some good talents on the mound here today. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. I know a little bit of a long one. We did have a big slate to get to. Hopefully you guys did enjoy. If you made it this far in the video, go ahead and comment 37. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Catch you guys in the next one, right? Peace out.